Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. I want to begin, as we do each Sunday, by welcoming you and embracing all that you bring with you, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs and background and lifestyle and experiences, and all that helps make you who you are. And this includes those of you who are in the room with us, those who are here frequently, those who might be joining us for the first time today. You're equally as welcome. And it also includes those of you who are streaming with us today. We're so glad to have so many of you with us as well on this fine Sunday. I don't know if we have anybody Zooming with us at this time. Todd, do you see anybody?
No, he's only doing that for the first service.
Okay, I know we're only doing it for the first service. Sometimes they sneak in, so I thought that just in case. So if you are streaming with us, or you regularly stream with us, and you'd be interested in being a host during a Zoom meeting. So what's been happening in the first service, this is the third week now. Today was really the official start, where folks who want to sort of be in some sort of sense of community and connection with each other during our services, even though they're doing so remote, we're looking for someone to host a Zoom room, essentially, for the second service on Sunday. So if you're watching now and that's something you do and might be interested in, it's a lot of fun. We can hear you, we can interact with you, we can say hi on occasion. So if that's something that you'd be interested in doing, please let me know, and we'll see to it that we can make you a host and start this on our second service as well. And that goes for any of you here as well who might be among those who sometimes stream and sometimes meet in person. So just let me know. Appreciate it. So I do have a few announcements this morning that I want to make, so I'm going to be try to be quick about it, but we don't want to overlook the unity candle that is lit at the front of our sanctuary here. This is something we do in our congregation when one of our members has passed away. And I know we've been talking a lot recently, lighting candles on behalf of Larry Richards, who passed away earlier this week after his long struggle with cancer. Some of you remember Larry, some of you don't. Larry's not been able to attend this church since he moved to Cook Island before I came. But he remained a member. He continued to be a supporter of this congregation, and I did have the pleasure of visiting with him. Usually on those occasions, he did come to town. Great guy, big part of helping to get this building, this property, and getting this building built, and a lot of folks who've been around for a while. We're good friends with Larry, and I know appreciated all that he's done, and I know you're going to miss him and his good spirit. So we have our candle lit in light of his honor in his life. Also want to let you know, if you've not heard, that we are having Owen Murs memorial service here in our sanctuary this Wednesday, the 21st at 10 a.m. I'll be officiating that service, and it'll be happening here in our sanctuary, so I hope to see you here. For those who knew Owen, another wonderful member of our congregation who was here just about as often as I am, if not more. So we miss him. He left rather suddenly, and we want to remember him the way he deserves to be remembered. So, okay. I don't have to welcome the Zoom attendees. I do want to let you know that our church, if you haven't heard this yet, hopefully you have, but our annual church auction, which is a big fundraiser for our congregation, has begun. This is when you donate something to be auctioned, and you can be as creative with it as you want. Last couple of years, I think I've been auctioning off a virtual reality experience in my basement, and some folks auction off art, meals, shared meals together, places to stay and get away for the weekend, those sort of things. So if you have something in mind that you'd like to contribute to help this fun fundraiser, that would be wonderful. Oh yeah. A little bird. Is there still a little bird in here? He left? He went out the window?
We had that back door open. The door back there was open.
Yeah, but the windows are open.
The windows are open.
Yeah. So anyway, before he left, or she, I'm so sexist. Before she left, the little bird told me a secret. And it's going to require us to sing, to chirp like birds, the happy birthday song. Someone told me that Dan Ekrit, it's your birthday today. Did you know? Do you want to tell your age or lie about your age or what? 84. 84. Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dan. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Dan, and be careful of which birds you choose to talk to, okay? All right, let's take a few moments to greet one another. Say hi to those as you look forward to seeing each Sunday, as well as some folks you might not have met before. And if you are joining us for the first time or you're newer to the congregation, please don't be shy. We're very glad you're here. All right, thank you so much. We're going to have more opportunity to visit during our social hour, but let's move forward now by lighting our chalice. The chalice, as you hear me say each Sunday, is the symbol of our faith. It is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
The opening reflection this morning is words from the Buddha. Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your religious books. Do not believe anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for many generations. But if after observation and analysis, you find what you're considering agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it.
Four times a year, we have recognition of seasonal change in this church. We use a little song called Chant for the Season, and you will notice that we have changed the banner to the right side of the pulpit from summer to the one for fall with berries on it. And so if you will please rise as you're willing and able to sing Chant for the Season's autumn verse.
We are now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds. And we begin with a candle, as we have been for the past several months now, on behalf of the people of the Ukraine, as well as that region of the world who are being most impacted by the violence and atrocities that are going on there. I also want to kindle a candle for the Reardon Rogers family, members of our congregation, Michelle, Greg, Lilia, and Jesslyn. Michelle's father, Al Bebdo, passed away a couple of weeks ago. Jesslyn and Lilia's grandfather, and they were very close to him, and his loss has brought a lot of grief to the family, so please keep them in your thoughts and hearts at this time. And then I also was just informed that church member Phoebe Daniels had a birthday earlier this week. What's that? Last week. Well, we won't sing happy birthday, but we'll at least say it. I'm not going to ask your age, but I'm sure we all wish you a happy birthday, right? Happy birthday! Yay! Okay, so let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of this morning, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like.
Doug and Diane Newman.
Bill Huff.
those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world. My gosh, that was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I especially enjoyed hearing the parts that weren't the tenors all singing together. I've heard a lot of the tenors, which are also beautiful.
Okay, so this is a person that you have not met before.
And
this
kids,
is.
come on down.
Oh yeah, the kids should come. Yes, children, come down here. Let me get a good look at you. Oh, they look just wonderful. The whole audience looks wonderful. Well, thank you. I'll put my glasses on so I can get a better look. Well, your glasses are on. Oh, well, they look okay. Okay, she's used to saying, this is Eleanor Clunk, she's used to saying what is on her mind. But anyway, why are you here today, Eleonora? Well, Dun actually invited me to church this morning. Didn't you, Dun? You sweet little thing, you.
Oh, Bun says he's very excited to see you at church today because you are one of his most favorite persons in the entire world.
Well,
he even has a card for you that says, Thank you, Eleonora from Bun Bun.
Oh, Dun Dun, that's so sweet. Thank you,
Isn't
dear.
that-
Thank you. Oh,
Well,
my goodness.
Can you,
Oh, you covered up my script, dear.
oh, sorry. Now I covered up my
You
script.
you can give it to me later.
Okay. Can you tell everyone how you know each other?
Well, yes. I'm a volunteer at Dun Dun School. I go to his classroom each week to help his teacher.
Well, that's wonderful. What kinds of things do you do with the children?
Oh, let's see. Sometimes I read to them, and sometimes I help them get snacks. Dun Dun likes carrots and lettuce. And mostly, I'm just there to be their friend.
Oh, well, I can see why Bun Bun would enjoy having a grandmotherly friend at school. He gets a little nervous at school. He said he especially likes it when you tell stories about when you were a little girl.
Oh, I love to tell stories about myself.
Yes, and that's wonderful because Bun Bun then gets two different perspectives. He gets the perspective of someone who's older than him, and he gets the perspective of someone who is a human being and not a non-human person like himself. Interesting. Well, I'm wondering, Eleanor, what do you get out of volunteering at Bun Bun's school?
Oh, I get so much out of it, dearie. Thank you for asking me. How much time do we have?
Oh, just a minute, maybe.
Oh, well, in that case, I love spending time with children because they have such a unique way of looking at the world. Here, thank you. So seeing their stupendous problem solvers and their creativity is just genius for me. Seeing Dun Dun and his friends is truly the highlight of my week. Seeing him this Sunday morning is a real bonus. So thank you, Dun Dun, for inviting me.
Oh, he wants to know if you can give him a hug.
Oh, dear, thank you for asking. Would you please?
Yes. Well, I sure hope that you can come visit our church again sometime soon, Eleanor.
Oh, well, I'd love to. Glasses or not.
Yes. And Bun Bun will see you on Thursday.
Okay, Dun Dun, I can't wait.
Bye, everyone. Well, it looks like Bun Bun and Eleonora have a really nice intergenerational relationship, and that's something we talked about last Sunday, not only because it was Grandparents' Day, but also because we are looking for new Children's Chapel volunteers.
And yes, you can be a volunteer in our children's chapel. And one of the issues we have had ever since I've been here, and I think it's happening in UU congregations all over the country, actually in religions all over the country, even as we're losing our number of kids, our enrollment is down. We still don't have enough volunteers, and we have really streamlined our religious education program and made it a lot better in the process by going to a children's chapel model. And this way the kids basically get to do the same things that we're doing, right? They go to their own sort of version of a worship service, and then they get to spend lots of time engaging with each other and building community and making friends and doing the sort of things that we love doing ourselves as adults. It doesn't take many volunteers now, right? We used to have to staff different classes and have 2 volunteers per class, and now it's pretty much just a couple of volunteers, really one volunteer and yourself or whoever's leading the chapel that day. So we need about 6 more volunteers. And we have a few volunteers who also happen to sing in the choir, and we don't want to prevent them from being able to perform on Sundays when they're able. So we're looking for a few folks in addition to choir members, but also some folks of you who are not in the choir or otherwise tied up on Sundays who might be willing to spend one Sunday helping with chapel, working with the kids probably about once every 2 months, once every month and a half.
Yep. And it's a pretty simple job. You just get to be with the kids. I do all the prep work. So it's just 40 minutes once every couple of months in the Thoreau room during the second service. And you'll just participate in our Children's Chapel's rituals and share of yourself, like Eleonora does with Bun Bun in his classroom. So if you're interested in volunteering, you can find me after the second service. I might be in the Thoreau room for a little bit. And then you could also email me at the address that's on the back of your order of service.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all.
And now join me in singing our children to Children's Chapel.
That's right.
Spirit of love so now, everywhere.
Now is the time in our service to move into a few moments of meditation. Get comfortable. Breathe deeply. Quiet your mind. Contemplate these words of Paul Lederach. Courage is living from the heart, which is where the word courage comes from. In highly polarized settings, one of the ways to understand social courage is that it takes courage to reach out to things that are not known, not well understood, that may be threatening to you, that may in fact pose a threat to everything you believe. It is there you may find that certain kind of courage it takes to reach into the unknown.
A few weeks ago, somebody handed me an old card that explains what Unitarian Universalists believe. Did you hand that to me, Tom? Have you seen it? I can't remember who gave this to me. Does anybody take ownership? Everybody's raising their hand. No. So this was actually published by Beacon Press, the Unitarian Universalist house publishing, and it was published in 1989. 1989, and it was written by a Unitarian minister named David O. Rankin. We believe in the freedom of religious expression. All individuals should be encouraged to develop their own personal theologies and to present openly their religious opinions without fear of censure or reprisal. We believe in the toleration of religious ideas. All religions in every age and culture possess not only intrinsic merit, but also potential value for those who have learned the art of listening. We believe in the authority of reason and conscience. The ultimate arbiter in religion is not a church, not a document, not an official, but the personal choice and decision of the individual. We believe in the never-ending search for truth in the mind and heart. If the mind and heart are truly free and open, the revelations that appear to the human spirit are infinitely numerous, eternally fruitful, and wondrously exciting. We believe in the unity of experience. There is no fundamental conflict between faith and knowledge, religion and the world, the sacred and the secular, since they all have their source in the same reality. We believe in the worth and dignity of each human being. All people on earth have an equal claim to life, liberty, and justice, and no idea, ideal, or philosophy is superior to a single human life. We believe in the ethical application of religion. Good works are the natural product of a good faith, the evidence of an inner grace that finds completion in social and community involvement. And three more. We believe in the motive force of love. The governing principle in human relationships is the principle of love. What is love? Which always seeks the welfare of others and never seeks to hurt or destroy. We believe in the necessity of the democratic process. Records are open to scrutiny, elections are open to members, and ideas are open to criticism, so that people might govern themselves. And finally, we believe in the importance of a religious community. The validation of experience requires the confirmation of peers who provide a critical platform along with a network of mutual support.
Loved it.
Yes, thank you. We had a little bird in here the first service. Been in since yesterday, but the windows are open and the little bird flew out, so. That's okay. It's well worth it to be able to hear such wonderful music on Sundays, but we don't want to expect people to stay 4 hours on Sunday for 2 services if they don't have to. I wish they wanted to. I mean, I like hearing their songs twice, but I don't know why they don't want to hear my sermon twice. So, to begin with a personal anecdote. Many years ago, I was invited to an informal gathering to meet the new minister of another Unitarian Universalist church. during which he said he wasn't there to express his own beliefs, but considered it his job to get to know the congregation so he could tell their story. And although this line of thinking might initially impress a ministerial search team, I knew immediately that his ministry would not end well. Indeed, he was gone within 5 years, which is about how long it takes for an unsuccessful ministry to conclude. And I'm going to ask Peggy if she'll shut that door now that the bird is out. We don't want anyone else escaping. Thank you. Yeah, it takes about 5 years for an unsuccessful ministry to conclude, and you have that first year of the honeymoon stage, second year of denial, third year of the rancor, and then, a couple years working out the details. So, but my concern was that he was essentially planning to figure out what people wanted to hear and then to say it. And this is a bad strategy for a few reasons. Firstly, even if doing so were possible, Unitarians don't long enjoy hearing themselves think. Most of us prefer having our ideas challenged, our paradigms shifted, and being exposed to new ideas. It's like that Seinfeld episode where Jerry falls for a comedian who is a female version of himself. Do you remember that one? This woman is different. She's incredible. She's just like me, he tells Kramer. She talks like me. She acts like me. She even ordered cereal in a restaurant. We have the same initials. Wait a minute, I just realized what's going on. Now I know what I've been looking for all these years, myself. I've been waiting for me to come along, and now I've swept myself off my feet. But soon after their rushed engagement, and having been around someone just like himself much of the time, Jerry realizes falling in love with himself wasn't such a wonderful thing after all. I think I made a big mistake, he tells Kramer. All of a sudden it hit me. I realized that what the problem is. I can't be with someone like me. I hate myself. If anything, I need somebody who is the complete opposite of me. It's too much, Kramer. I can't take it. The same kind of relationships occur sometimes between UU ministers and their congregations. Some strong personalities in a congregation will want a minister that they can mold into their idea of what a minister should be. But in the end, they often end up disliking such a minister, seeing in them their own shadows. These ministries don't usually go well or last long. As Unitarian minister Theodore Parker said in 1841, got the year right that time, while speaking to a congregation during another minister's ordination ceremony, you may prevent the freedom of speech in this pulpit if you will. You may hire your servants to preach as you bid, to spare your vices and flatter your follies, to prophesy smooth things and say it is peace when there is no peace. Yet in doing so, you weaken and enthrall yourselves. And for the timid minister, Parker said, alas, for that man who consents to think one thing in his closet and preach another in his pulpit. God shall judge him not in his mercy, but in his wrath. But over his study and over his pulpit might be writ emptiness. On his canonical robes, on his forehead and right hand, deceit, deceit. For just as the congregation is obligated to allow a free pulpit, a minister is obligated to use such freedom to say what must be said. Secondly, a congregation, especially a Unitarian congregation, is a community of individuals, not a ubiquitous group in which everyone is just alike and likes the same things. It was folly for this minister I mentioned to think that he could discover one story and tell it. The larger the congregation, the more stories there are. It's better to have a minister who connects with most people much of the time, a few people almost all of the time, and is okay with not pleasing some people any of the time. But attempting to please everyone all of the time, or even some of the time, is not only impossible, but will eventually make one's sermons dull and shallow and inauthentic, so that they end up not satisfying anyone because they will be full of emptiness and deceit, as Parker says. I have often been troubled when attending collegial gatherings to hear other ministers refer to their congregations as they, as if they were talking about a single person, as if everyone in their congregation think and behave just alike, as if everyone could be blamed for the actions of a few. I've been the minister of both large and small congregations, and I know this is not so even in the smallest of Unitarian Universalist groups. Conflating groups of people with one person as a they is to me a violation of the principle that so many of us cherish, the worth and dignity of every person. Right? Don, you are not a they. Well, I shouldn't say it. I know they now is a pronoun that some individuals prefer. So what I mean is I'm not lumping you in with everybody or anybody else, any other individuals in the room. Right? So I've had to deal with a lot of difficult individuals over the years. Most of us have, right? Some of whom make my work chronically challenging. But I have been able to remain enthusiastic by thinking about all the supportive, mature, and kind-hearted people who are also part of the congregation. Lumping everyone into one, allowing the misbehavior of a few to completely redefine, or define, I should say, our experience or our community, ends up dragging us all down. Over the years, I've had some individuals complain about my sermons for a handful of reasons. Some have said they are too intellectual and have asked me to please dumb them down. Others have complained that they're not spiritual enough, unable really to explain exactly what they mean by spiritual. Others have said I need to be more emotional in the pulpit. Damn it. And most recently, some have said I talk too much about my concerns regarding the Unitarian Universalist Association. And I always respond in the same way, by explaining that my sermons are an expression of who I am and where I am at in my journey. And that I was called to this pulpit partly because of the quality of my preaching. And I know it doesn't appeal to everyone, but it does seem to satisfy most. And that's enough. It's all I can expect. It's better than I can expect. When what I have to say is no longer meaningful to most, then I know it will be time for me to go. But what I really want to say is, this is not a drive-up pulpit at which I ask, may I take your order, please? My sermons come from my heart and my mind and are thus an expression of myself. I have no need to be liked by everyone, but I do understand that in order to maintain a successful ministry, a large majority of you should appreciate my sermons. If that should change, I will know that I'm no longer the person best suited to be your minister because my sermons, again, are an expression of myself. But the most important reason for speaking my own mind in the pulpit, the number one reason, is that ours is a liberal religious tradition that is based partly and largely upon this principle of the free pulpit. Today, especially in Unitarian churches, we may not think much about the right of ministers to say what they want, whether we like it or not, but this right was not easily earned, and sustaining it is one of the struggles of our own day. We don't have to be church historians to know that there was a time in Western history in which religion was handed down to us, any deviation from which was strictly forbidden. This meant priests and other religious leaders were not allowed to speak for themselves, but for the papal authority by adhering to church doctrine and administering the sanctioned catechism and sacraments. Those who departed from these official teachings or rituals were removed from their positions and would likely be punished if they did not recant. The Protestant reformers weren't much better. It was John Calvin, remember, the founder of the Presbyterian Church, who personally persecuted, prosecuted, and ordered that Michael Servetus, the founder of Unitarianism, be burned at the stake along with his books for expressing his anti-Trinitarian views. But what the Reformation did accomplish was to weaken the authority of the Roman Catholic Church, which enabled an increasing number of courageous individuals to not only begin speaking out against the church, disagreeing with the church, but to get away with it. This liberty is why the reformers themselves fractured into a variety of sects, each with their own subtle to extreme differences. In addition to the emergence of mainstream religions, or what have become mainstream religions, like the Lutherans, the Calvinists, the Anglicans, and so on, were the Anabaptists, who were despised and persecuted by almost everyone. The Anabaptists get their name from their practice of rebaptizing adults. Theirs was a sect that strongly believed one's religion should be freely chosen, not imposed upon them by outside authorities. So they did not recognize the legitimacy of infant baptism. How could an infant know what they're choosing, what they're getting themselves into? Instead, they required their adherents to choose this sacrament for themselves when they were of age to freely do so. The Anabaptists were eventually persecuted out of existence. But their remnants went on to become Baptists, Mennonites, and Unitarians, all of whom carried on to differing degrees this tradition respecting individual agency. For the Baptists and Unitarians, this was especially true. The Baptists continued adult baptism. Each church was independent of any outside authority, and as such chose their own ministers. Unitarians also have congregational polity, meaning that our churches are free and independent organizations. And like the Baptist, only the local church has the right to ordain and call or dismiss their ministers. The UUA can't do it. You tried. You can't do it. Additionally, Unitarians have, since our inception, considered freedom of the pulpit almost sacrosanct. Freedom of the pulpit simply means nobody, neither any authority outside the local congregation or within it should or can prevent a called minister from speaking according to her or his own conscience. Prior to the formal establishment of Unitarianism in the 16th century, such freedom existed nowhere in religion. It was unthought of. But in 1568, shortly after it became the official religion in Transylvania, the Edict of Torda was passed by Unitarians, guaranteeing that in our dominions there will be freedom of conscience, and no one shall be reviled for his religion by anyone, and it is not permitted that anyone should threaten anyone else by imprisonment or by removal from his post for his teaching. We will not cancel people in our church or in our community. Again, Michael Servetus, considered the founder of Unitarianism, was executed for writing a book contrary to Trinitarian doctrine. And Unitarian Bishop Ferenc David, who helped author that Edict of Torda, was arrested just over 10 years later and put in a dungeon where he died only a few months in. He was guilty of violating anti-innovation laws established by the Catholics who took over after the unfortunate and untimely Unitarian king died. In other words, David said something new that the authorities disagreed with. 6 months later, he was dead. So given the sad fates of two of our earliest founders and most historic figures, Unitarians, more than any other religion, have come to cherish our individual freedom and freedom of the pulpit, that no one shall be removed from their post for their teachings. Even today, this principle remains codified in the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association's guidelines. They haven't read them for a while, but here's what it says. The history and expectation of the Unitarian Universalist movement is that ministers are free to speak the truth as they understand it. The long-standing tradition of freedom of the pulpit extends to ministers in all professional settings. This freedom applies to both spoken and written public statements. Article 10, Section 3 of our own bylaws here at UUCS states, the senior minister shall have the freedom to speak his or her conscience even when in conflict with the official church position and that of the UUA or any of its affiliate organizations. And there's something like that in the bylaws of Unitarian Universalist churches across the land. It is our way. Sadly, as we have discovered in recent years, this foundational principle isn't as sacrosanct as it once was for some Unitarians. But it is a principle worth fighting for because it is essential to our remaining a truly liberal religion. We can't call ourselves a liberal religion without it. Knowing and appreciating all of this history and understanding how rare and volatile such freedom is, the freedom of the pulpit that I enjoy must sometimes struggle to maintain and constantly muster the courage to use accordingly. Makes this pulpit, my pulpit, among one of my most valued possessions ever in my life. It's mine, not because I own it, but because according to our tradition, I occupy it, so long as I am your minister here. It has been passed on to me, in a now 135-year-old line of succession, just as others will occupy it after me. And I'm humbled when I think of the stature of some who have occupied it before me, and by my obligation to make myself worthy of the pulpit I have inherited from them. I think about the courage of our first minister, Reverend Edwin Wheelock, who came here in 1888 with a bounty on his head. A bounty on his head, wanted dead or alive by the entire state of Virginia for preaching a sermon favorable of abolitionist John Brown. That was our first minister. I think of Reverend John Dietrich, who came here in 1911 after having been convicted of heresy and excommunicated from the Dutch Reformed Church in Pennsylvania, and who, upon gaining freedom of the pulpit here, discovered himself and went on to become the father of religious humanism and one of the original signers of the Humanist Manifesto. It's amazing, there are only two philosophies stemming from America: pragmatism and humanism. And one of them was founded here in this congregation, this pulpit. Imagine how surprised I was to discover that Dietrich gave his first sermon in this pulpit, in a previous instantiation of it, of course, on November 7th, 1911. And that I was installed here on November 7th, 2011. Exactly 100 years to the day. And if he hadn't still been alive when I was born, I would tell you I was his reincarnation. But I'm not. But I admire him. I really admire him. I've loved getting to know him, and I feel his presence often on Sundays. I think about him often when I'm in this pulpit. And there have been so many others here, too many to recount, including the Reverend Rudy Gilbert, who was among the very first to use this pulpit to protest the Vietnam War. Yeah. Even though some complained he was pounding the drumbeat of peace more often than they wanted to hear. He may have even talked about the Vietnam War more than I do about the UUA. And of course, there was the long and successful ministry of dear Reverend Dr. Bill Houff, who I had the pleasure of knowing for a few years before his death. Reverend Bill used his background as a scientist and his passion as a minister to help expose the radiation contamination from the Hanford nuclear plant, as well as many other accomplishments during his long career here. And I have done my best to make myself worthy of occupying the pulpit of these giants. I've had some successes in improving the causes that I believe in, with your help, of course, like marriage equality and criminal justice reform. I've mustered the courage to say what I must, even against severe backlash. I've even become a heretic among liberals. That's pretty hard to do. I hope Dietrich would be proud. But the point I want to begin to conclude with is that so long as a minister occupies a pulpit, she or he owns it. It is both their right and responsibility to do so with as much insight, courage, and honesty as possible. This is why whenever I'm invited to speak in a pulpit occupied by another minister, I begin by thanking that minister, whether he or she is present or not, for allowing me to borrow it for even a short time on a single Sunday, because it's sacred. to me. And I usually say a little something about its significance to remind a congregation that so long as they have a minister, that pulpit belongs to that minister. Ultimately, the pulpit itself is the property of the congregation, which is the body that calls a minister to occupy it. But the congregation should understand that once this happens, they lend the pulpit to the minister for as long as he or she remains in that position. The minister, in turn, cannot approach it lightly, as if it were just a piece of furniture upon which to lay our books or notes, or to hide a zipper that has occasionally been left undone. This pulpit is a symbol of the very freedoms our liberal religion is founded upon. It carries decades of history with it, over a century. This pulpit carries over a century of history with it. It holds the wisdom and courage of our ancestors. So when I say it's my pulpit, mine, it's not out of stinginess or defiance, but out of my obligation as a Unitarian minister to take full responsibility for it, so long as it is mine to occupy. This doesn't mean others, like our lay leaders and our guest speakers, can't approach and use it. It's not the physical pulpit I'm talking about, it's the principle that it represents. That the ministers who we choose must be exemplars. The ministers that we choose. Right? I'm not planning on going anywhere, but next time you're choosing a minister, they must be exemplars. Of the same freedoms that we all deserve, and of the courage and the responsibility each of us has to fully occupy life and to fulfill our own calling. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm reminded that I heard Rudy Gilbert speak as a freshman in college when I came back for spring break. I had some neighbors that saw what was on the sign for the church when they were going through town. They lived an hour away, and they invited me to come. And so I got to hear him speak. And yes, he was speaking about the Vietnam War. And of course, Bill Howe. So it's this has been a beacon for me and a pleasure. I'm sure that for all of you too. We're going to sing a song that really has nothing to do with what Todd was speaking about. This is directed toward our seasonal change, and it's called September Song. Many of you might have heard it over the years. Frank Sinatra sang it. The latest famous person to sing this on a recording was Willie Nelson. So please stand as you're willing and able to sing this song. It will have a musical interlude in it, and Maura will play that, and I'll kind of go like this when that's turned, and on the screen you'll see musical interludes. So there'll be a little spot for you to listen in the middle. Here we go.
It'll be better than Happy Birthday.
Yes.
Oh, it's a long, long while from May into December, but the days grow short when you reach September, when the autumn weather turn the leaves to flame. One hasn't got time for the waiting game. Oh, the days dwindle down to a precious few. September, November, and these few precious days I'll spend with you. These precious days I'll spend with you. Oh, the days dwindle down to a precious few. September, November, and these few precious days I'll spend with you. These precious days I'll spend with you. These precious days I'll spend with you.
Norton Jester offers these closing words. You must never feel badly about making mistakes, as long as you take the trouble to learn from them. For you often learn more by being wrong for the right reasons than you do by being right for the wrong reasons. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.